Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the 3Leches Sports Podcast, brought to you in conjunction with El Mundo Boston. I'm Gilly Matos, and as always, joined by my friends, my colleagues, Uri Berenguer, the Spanish voice of the Boston Red Sox. What's up, Uri? ¿Cómo está?
I'm good, Gil. I'm good. I'm a lot better than Mariana Juarez, also known as Barbie Juarez. I'm doing a lot better than she is. I can accept my reality. How are you, buddy? What's going on?
there's a lot of people not accepting their reality nowadays. Also joined by good friend and colleague, the reporter for New England Patriots and New England Revolution, Omar Cabrera. How you doing, O?
Senores, it's always great to be here with you guys, talking about sports, doing what we love. Let's get it on.
That's right.
That's what they told Barbie.
As always, the 3Leches Sports Podcast, that we're going to bring you three hot topics in the world of sports. Three guys, three topics. And we're going to start off with the rivalry, guys, that keeps on giving, right? The gift that keeps on giving. Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan, all these years later, still going at it. In an appearance on the latest episode of Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay, Thomas ranked the 5 toughest players that he has played against during his career. And you ranked Jordan number 5, behind Magic Johnson, Kareem, Larry Bird, and Dr. J. He added that he was also dominant over MJ. What do you guys think of Isaiah Thomas's comments on that? Omar, let's start with you. Or Yuri, let's start with you. What do you think about that?
You know what? This is hilarious. The first thing, when you asked me what do I think about it, the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, you know what needs to happen? MTV needs to bring back Celebrity Deathmatch. That's what they need to do. MTV needs to bring back Celebrity Deathmatch and just have these guys go at it. Just go at it. I'd love to see, Isaiah throw an uppercut and MJ just fly like he's dunking and dunks Isaiah's head into a net or something like that. I'd love to see that. That'd be a match that I'd be willing to pay whatever it takes to watch. That'd be awesome. But with that said, I was like, I wonder if this has anything to do with MJ calling him an asshole in The Last Dance. I'm like, I wonder if that got into his skin a little bit. Do you think? Dude, it's just so absurd. I mean, one thing is to say that MJ is not the GOAT. You know what? You can make an argument that he's not. I can understand that. I respect that. Isaiah, you're one of the greatest of all times. I have to respect your opinion when it comes to basketball. I may not agree with it, but I'll respect it. One thing is to say that he's not the GOAT, but to not have him not have him as 4th. To not have him, as 1 or 2 at the very least, I mean, that's absurd. He went on to say that, like you said, that he was dominant over MJ. He says, if I may add, he goes, he just wasn't my competition. My focus was on Bird, Magic, Dr. J, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Those are the guys. I don't care what anybody says. You can go back and look at history. Those were the guys. Isaiah, you know what? I can go back and look at history, and I can see MJ whooping that ass when nobody else could. At the end of it all, you know what? You got to give it up. I mean, I don't understand. You should have focused more on MJ, and perhaps the Pistons would have continued winning a little longer. And perhaps the Pistons wouldn't have lost to MJ and Pippen back then. To me, this is like the school bully. The school bully in the elementary park. I mean, in the elementary school, you're out playing kickball, and he's been the man the whole, for the last 2 or 3 years. He's been the man, the school bully, and all of a sudden, a new kid comes around and whoops his behind, and they ask him what happened, and he just his answer is, "You see, what had happened was I wasn't thinking about what had happened was." That's his excuse. To me, it's all ridiculous, man. It really is absurd.
Omar, I see you smirking over there, and Isaiah also added that he was dominant over MJ head-to-head. He said, until 91, when I was basically had a career-ending wrist injury. Up until then, my record against him and his team, it really wasn't competition there. That is what Isaiah said. What are your thoughts on his comments and what Yuri said?
Well, guys, let me be clear. I was never a fan of Isaiah Thomas, especially, during his heyday. Like, I never liked his personality, his attitude, and definitely didn't like the way he tried to bully everybody around. So, but I do have to say I respect his opinion. You guys got to be like, what? What's wrong with you? I do. You know what? You guys are thinking, I'm not saying you guys, but everybody who thinks that, Isaiah Thomas is wrong, we got to remember, man, the first part of his career when Michael Jordan was not that great, you know what? Isaiah Thomas really dominated those games. I'm not talking as Isaiah Thomas. The Detroit Pistons did. You know what? The first couple of years, Isaiah was 29 and 30. Jordan was 29 and 36 against Isaiah Thomas, including the playoff 10 and 12. So you know what? That's probably why Isaiah Thomas is saying all that, because he's talking about everything. You know what? Not just like the later years. Yeah, we remember Jordan, the dominant Jordan, but that didn't take off until 91. But before that, you know what? Who were the leaders? Who were the kings of the NBA? It was Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, those guys. And that's why, you know what? And that's why Isaiah Thomas is saying that. And come on, guys, we got to admit, that's also an awesome list. You know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic, you know, Dr. J, Larry. So maybe he's just saying, I had a harder time playing against these guys than I did against Michael. And yeah, when Michael finally took off, yeah, he left Isaiah Thomas way behind, but maybe Isaiah Thomas is looking at the overall picture, and that's why he's saying that.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying here, Omar. You know, I think when you put it in perspective, what he's saying is he's absolutely right. I mean, when he was coming into the NBA and the Pistons were trying to break through and beat the Celtics and finally get by the Celtics, Larry Bird was his main competition, and before that, Dr. J, right? So those are the guys he was focusing on. And then the other conference, you had Magic and Kareem. So he's not wrong when he says that, right? I mean, and let's be honest, before Jordan was Jordan, before he started winning all those rings, the Pistons were beating that ass on a consistent basis. So, you know, when you look at it that way, I understand what he's trying to say. And, you know, guys, in the NBA, it's just a natural ebb and flow of the NBA, right? It's like the young guys in the NBA don't win. Young guys do not win in the NBA. And if you look at the average age of the last 10 NBA champions combined, you're looking at 28.7 years of age, right? So everybody needs to get over that hump. Every young star goes to that hump. You know, you had LeBron trying to get over the Celtics. You know, you had Kobe trying to get over the Spurs in the West. So you had all these young stars that were trying to get up and get over their rivals. And this is just the ebb and flow of the league and the way it goes. And, you know, I agree with what Isaiah's saying. You know, those were his contemporaries more than Jordan was really, who eventually did overtake him.
I think it's cute if you justify what he said the way that you guys are doing it, because yes, when you put it like that in that perspective, yes, absolutely, no one can deny that. But you know what? I also remember that for the first 13, almost 14. Excuse me, let me do the math real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'd say that for the first 13 years and 7 months of my life, my older sister, used to whoop my behind up and down. We used to get into these fights, and Idana used to kick my butt. Dude, I was scared of Idana. But guess what? New Year's Eve of my 13th year, when I was 13 years old, New Year's Eve came around, and asked Idana how that turned around. After that day, after New Year's Eve of 1990, whatever it was, Idana wasn't seeing me ever again. Those years of her whooping my behind were long gone. Those years were gone. She knew who the top dog was in the house now. And that's exactly what Isaiah doesn't. That's exactly what Isaiah doesn't want to recognize. Do not put, if you don't want to even share the story with us. Not to put MJ in the top 4. That's absurd. That's absurd.
Nobody's buying that. She's still whipping your ass.
Hey, you can just like you told us to ask Edwin. Just like you told us to ask Edwin, you can ask Idana. Ask Idana.
You shouldn't even share that story with us.
Why not? What? I'm afraid that my old sister kicked my butt. What? I can't admit that.
Oh, that she probably still does.
Maybe. Hey, you never know. You're right. Maybe she does. But that's between me and her, not you.
Anyways, guys, switching gears. While the New York Jets salivate for the number 1 pick of next year's NFL drafts, so they can grab Clemson's talented quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, the NFL already has some young studs ready to take on the league for many years to come. We already know about the Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jacksons. But Gil, to you, who is the next top quarterback in the NFL?
As you mentioned, Omar, there's so many talented young quarterbacks. I'm going to go with Jarrett Stidham. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to be a good pick.
I'm just kidding. My guy.
That's it. If you ask Omar, that's it.
So many good young players and so many good young quarterbacks, right? And it's remarkable, right? Because the old adage and the old rule was they had to be a backup for 2 to 3 years before they can step in. But these guys are stepping in right from college and they're game ready. But my guy's Joe Burrow, guys. The rookie QB out of LSU. He's lived up to all of the expectations after arguably having the best college football season in the history of college football. And he's been impressive despite playing behind an horrendous Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. Great arm, accuracy, poise, and the most important thing that any QB can have, an innate ability to play quickly. That guy's my choice as the best young quarterback right now.
That's a great choice. I personally think that Arizona's Kyler Murray is a stud. I must admit, I was one of those critics that I thought that he would never be that successful in the NFL just because of his size, because he was small. So I got to admit, and I got to apologize, I was wrong, but you know what? 36 touchdowns, 19 receptions, and almost 6,000 passing yards in his first 2 seasons in the league. He's already proven me wrong. And then in the West Coast, we got rookie Justin Herbert of the Chargers, who I'm really upset because I had him in my fantasy league team,
Mhm.
and after 2 weeks I dropped him. So I'm really upset because he's definitely taking the league by storm. So, Yuri, who's your top QB?
You're amazing. You're amazing. You know that, oh, you're amazing. You started off by apologizing to one guy because you bashed him and then he showed you that you were wrong, but yet then you mentioned my guy Justin Herbert, who you did not apologize to, even though you wanted Tyrod Taylor to keep his job. You were like, no, leave Tyrod Taylor in there. Tyrod Taylor deserves to keep his job. I mean, this Justin Herbert guy, this kid can
at that
sit.
point he did.
This kid can sit and just wait and learn from Tyrod. Ain't nothing Taylor's going to teach Herbert. Taylor can't teach Herbert not a damn thing. And I told you that, but you don't want to apologize to Herbert. My man, Justin Herbert, 6 feet, 6 inches, 236 pounds of dominating quarterback with speed, by the way, which nobody knows about and has taken all the defenses by surprise. This kid is the real deal. The kid is the real deal, dude. He started his career by facing off, by the way, in game 2 of this season, by facing off against Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and what's the other guy? Oh, yeah, Patrick Mahomes. He outdueled Patrick Mahomes despite losing in overtime. He had pretty similar numbers to Brady and to Brees in those games. What was it? Brady, 369 yards, 5 TDs, 1 intel. Herbert, 290 yards, 3 TDs, 1 intel. Against Drew Brees, 246 yards,
Yeah, but he's
2 touchdowns and 1 intel. However, Herbert, 264, 4-0. Going up against those top dogs, he wasn't intimidated. He hasn't been intimidated by the league. He's at 17 touchdowns right now. He's actually also on a 5-game streak of throwing 2+ TDs. He has surpassed 300 yards, the 300-yard marks in 4 of his 7 starts, and the only 2 that he hasn't. Excuse me, 4 of 7. In the other 2 of the 3 that he hasn't, he threw for 278 against Denver and 290 against Tampa Bay. This kid is the real deal. The Justin Herbert age has started with the LA Chargers. Yeah. I just hope that Anthony Lynn knows how to use them.
And he's 2-6 on a team
on
a team behind a really good offensive line and stuff. And he's a great player. He is.
Yeah. So he's not good. So what are you going to go there for? Okay, so he's 2-6.
But I still stand by what I thought originally. That Taylor should have kept his job.
That's cool. Oh, wow.
But really? I give him credit.
You're going to stand by that? No, come on, dude.
No, at that point, I really thought, you know what? At that point, the reason how he lost it, that's why I thought it was not fair.
Taylor didn't have anything left. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but do you remember how he lost it?
Yes, I remember it.
Okay, exactly. That was
a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
but, I mean, I don't know how we can say he didn't have anything left. He didn't have a chance to even show that he had
exactly.
nothing left.
But, and I'm a man, and I'm apologizing when I say something wrong.
Dad, I applaud you. Are you apologizing to him?
Well, I apologize to him, and just like I apologize about Kyler Murray. You know, I thought he wouldn't be that good in the NFL because of his size.
Then I'll applaud. Then I'll applaud you if you apologize to Herbert because he deserves it. I applaud you.
I did.
Good. But guys, one thing that we do really, I mean, all joking aside, I picked Justin Herbert. You picked Kyler Murray, who's actually my number 2 on the list, and Gil, you mentioned
Joe Burrow.
I'm sorry, Burrow. That's right. The reality is, guys, we have to recognize what we're living through in this era of the NFL. I remember a few years back when the Dustin Pedroias and the Jason Kipnesses of the world were coming up. There was an influx of second basemen coming up in baseball, and it was pretty cool. I remember actually talking about that during one of the games. Right now, we're going through this era where a bunch of really cool quarterbacks are coming up, and you really can't go wrong. I mean, we went through the Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees era, and Peyton Manning. Now we're going through this. It looks like we're going through chapter 2. Or the next chapter of really, really good quarterbacks.
Yeah. And the only reason I didn't pick Kyler Murray is because I passed on him in my fantasy leagues because of what Omar was saying. I'm like, he's too small. He's going to get hurt. He's not going to be there. And I kick myself every time I see, the numbers he's putting up. So
it'll be fun to see Trevor Lawrence next year as well.
Well, not on the Jets. If he goes to the Jets, I'm still waiting for the mysterious, demanding a trade or, I don't know. Pulling an Eli Manning, right?
He's got to do something. Hey, guys, all right, let's go over to MLB, my home. And, guys, we are right in the middle of the MLB award season. And while he was too smart to win the World Series, Kevin Cash does not go home empty-handed, as he was named the American League Manager of the Year. I just asked, pretty simple, guys. What do you think? Did MLB get this one right? I'm going to start with you. What do you think, bro?
Well, you know what, man? I know we're all gonna remember the decision, Game 7 decision, against the Dodgers.
I like that one. Right?
We're all gonna remember that. But you know what? We have to give him credit. He's done a really great job with Tampa Bay. He's the reason why Tampa Bay has been really successful, especially the last 3 years. Winning record 3 years in a row, made the playoff 2 years in a row. He had a record of 40-20. This year with the best record in the American League, and also I believe percentage-wise is the best percentage-wise winning percentage record ever for that team. So you have to give him that. Unfortunately, we are gonna remember that, But we're talking about the regular season, and that's why they give awards. He was the best manager during the regular season, and he deserves it.
Hey, one more time. What was it that you called that? What was it you called that? You used a good phrase for it. What was it? What he did in the playoffs? I mean, in the World Series? The what? The what?
Well, unfortunately, we're gonna remember the bad decision.
The decision.
the bad decision.
Girl, you're not gonna live that one down. The decision did do him in the World Series, but it obviously didn't do him in during the regular season. What do you think? Did MLB get this one right?
I think they absolutely got it right. I think, as I've mentioned before several times, he's the smartest manager in the league, regardless of the bad decision that he made. I mean, did he make a bad decision? Sure, it was a fatal mistake pulling Blake Snell in the 6th inning of the Game 6, but the fact is he consistently has that team competing at the top of the standings with despite being one of the 4 of the lowest payrolls in the league. So did they get it right? Absolutely. They did get it right. What they don't get right ever is, and I don't understand this, and this is kind of completely off topic here, guys, but let's talk about it anyways, is the fact that MLB, if you want to market your players, you want to market these personalities and market everything, why do we have awards that, on Tuesday night, we're going to find out who the MVP was. On Wednesday night, we're going to find out who the Cy Young Award winner. Why don't you just have an awards night like every other league does and have them there and show their personalities and show their interviews and show the other side of them, show their faces and get to know them better, right? Why do we have to find – this is a whole other subject. But, yes, I do think it's the right decision.
I don't even know what to say. I don't even know where to go. I'm like, I want to debate him in this. I'm like, how do I go? Where do I go?
If I didn't know that Gil loves baseball, I'd be like, damn, what a hater he is when it comes to
where
baseball.
do I go with this? Dude.
I don't get it. It's like,
why
do they draw this out over the span of 2 weeks? Like, Monday night, we're going to find out who the rookie of the year was. Like, just do it all one night.
Oh, man. All right. Well, listen, if I can go back to the topic we're actually discussing, did MLB get it right? Kevin Cash with the American League Manager of the Year. You know what? As they say, third time's a charm, isn't it? Third time's a charm every day. Listen, you know where I stand with Kevin Cash. I do think he's an amazing manager. I do think I'm not going to go as far as saying that he's the smartest manager in baseball, but I will say he's definitely one of the top managers in all of baseball, without a doubt. Did they get it right? Yeah, you know what? I do think they got it right. I do think they got it mostly right, but I do have to add, guys, there is room for doubt, because the reality is also, while everything you said is true, that is also a reality. There's also another reality. The reality is that the Tampa Bay Rays are not a surprise team. They were not a surprise team. They were predicted to be one of the top dogs from ever since the end of the last season. They were predicted to be there, especially because of their pitching. They ended up with the second best team ERA in baseball with 3.56. They had studs. The pitching was, full of studs, and for a reason. There's a reason why they were there. They were also, I like to think that they were also at a huge advantage throughout the entire season. I mean, let's not forget, they had an advantage that no other team had. They played without fans. No fans in the
Marlins. Fans. Don Mattingly won.
Okay, the Marlins. Well, Don Mattingly, exactly. You see, so there we go. You put them.
Hey, that's not fair. They had an advantage.
They had an advantage, exactly. They were used to playing with no fans at their ballpark. Come on, how many times? And this is a fact. How many times do you hear players say, whenever you go into Yankee Stadium, those fans are, whenever you go to Fenway Park, the fans are right on top of you. Guys, nothing changed for the Rays. So they had to play at an advantage. I'm not going to take away credit from Kevin Cash because, yes, I think they mostly got it right. But I do have to mention my man, Charlie Montoya. Charlie Montoya, man, there's a surprise. There's a surprise team in the full definition of the word. Charlie Montoya, Puerto Riqueño. Dude, do you guys realize that Toronto lost 95 games last year? They lost 95 games last year. This year, they were the 8th seed. They made it. They came, they were competing in arguably the toughest division, again, the toughest division in baseball. They played great baseball. They played great team baseball with a lot of young guys. Montoya handled those young guys. Kind of like
they're loaded with young talent.
Well, yeah, but young talent. And you know how hard it is to manage young talent. That's the thing. That's the thing about a manager. We always say that in baseball that a manager really represents the difference between maybe 2 to 5 wins at most. At most, 2 to 5 wins in a 162 game season. That's what that's the popular saying, and I believe in that. But the biggest impact that a manager has is how he manages those players, how he manages that clubhouse. And managing a clubhouse full of young guys is not an easy thing to do. I got to give Montoya a big round of applause. I mean, he deserves a lot of credit. I think he was a great candidate for the manager of the year. At the end of the day, you also have to remember that, guys, when they started the season, they didn't even know if they were going to play. The Blue Jays didn't know if they were going to have a season or not, and they didn't play a home game for the first 3 weeks of the season. And when they did finally get a home, they had to play their entire season in a minor league ballpark. Those things really affect you. You think about that, Charlie. I think Charlie deserves, a lot of credit. It's hard for me to pick Charlie over Kevin Cash, but I wouldn't go against anyone who did.
You can't pick against the guy that had the most wins in the in the league, but
unless you included the playoffs,
the decision. Well, guys, that leads us to the final segment here of the show, el abrazo o el chancletazo, where we give somebody a hug or a spanking for what they did during the week. Omar, let's start with you. What do you got this week?
Oh man, I'm glad you let me go first because I was afraid you guys were gonna steal my thunder. And I have to give a big abrazo, guys, even though I never saw him play or coach the Boston Celtics, but we all know he was a legend as a coach and as a player. And one of my all-time favorite announcers, Tommy Heinsohn, who we lost earlier this week at the age of 86. Rest in peace, Tommy, and thank you for making our basketball and Celtics experience a memorable one since day one. For that, you get a huge abrazo and a big Tommy point.
Big Tommy point. A guy who linked to all 17 of the Celtics championships as a player, coach, and announcer as well. Yuri, what do you got this week?
I do want to second that with Omar. Absolutely, you have to give that big abrazo to Tommy. He will be missed. But I'm going to go with a chancletazo. I'm going to be the bad guy today, and I have to give definitely a chancletazo because I learned something in football. I learned something about football today. I see the similarities between. I saw the similarities between football and baseball more than I ever have in my life. Watching a pitcher hit sucks. Watching a major league pitcher hit sucks. And watching a National Football League quarterback trying to tackle also sucks. It's absurd. They should have a DH for the QB when he's trying to get a tackle. So you guys know where I'm going. Phillip Rivers, the Colts quarterback, oh my God, attempting a tackle of Chuck Clark after the Ravens recovered a fumble. Chuck Clark running the safety for the Ravens, running all the way back for the touchdown. The last tackle he had to avoid was none other than Phillip Rivers. And I mean, I'll end up showing. I have to do some editing and showing you guys the video or the picture right here. You guys will see it right here. But I mean, seriously, come on now. Let's get this guy a DH. He can't be in there trying to tackle. That's just absurd. Big chancletazo to Phillip Rivers and all QBs who try to.
So you want to get him a DT, a designated tackler?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. It's only right.
Right. Phillip Rivers is really good at avoiding condoms because he has like 10 kids, but.
I guess he at least got that tackling right.
That was a good one.
Well, guys, this week I am going to give a chancletazo to Uri Berenguer and everybody else who still thinks that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the best team in the NFC. The Tampa Bay Bucs obviously got thrashed for a second time this season by the Saints, who gave them a little gentleman's shutout, 38-3. Great job with the courtesy touchdown there at the end, by the way. That made a difference. But the Saints are absolutely the cream of the crop in the NFC. 3-time defending division champs, and it goes to the old adage in sports: to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And they haven't, obviously won the NFC, got into the Super Bowl those last 3 years, but they've had some unfortunate circumstances and bounces and calls here and there. But the Saints definitely the cream of the crop of the NFC. And guys, I also want to give a big abrazo as we record this today on Veterans Day to all the veterans of U.S. wars and conflicts. You guys are the MVP, so thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, guys.
That discussion is for you, by the way.
Yeah, this is for you right here.
You sure you don't have poop at the bottom of that? You don't have poop at the bottom of that? That discussion is to be continued. I got to bow down and, yes, give the Saints all the credit. They whooped Tampa Bay's butt and
gentleman shutout.
But it did. But I do have to point out, guys, we watched the worst Tom Brady of our life. Have you ever seen Tom Brady look that bad? And have you seen the Saints
Twice?
defense? And have you seen the Saints defense look better than what they looked this past? You haven't seen them look that good. They played their best defensive game of the year, and Tampa Bay is having to play its worst football of the year.
Oh, so this happened twice already that they've done this.
Oh, so you want to use game one as an example? Really? Do you want me to rewind and put in what you said?
You have all those weapons, no excuses.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I can see, but this discussion will be continued.
No. Okay, you're right. Yeah, Tampa's better
in the playoffs.
Well, guys, we've reached the end of this episode of the 3Leches Sports Podcast. For Uri Berenguer, for Omar Cabrera, I'm Gilly Matos. Have a great week, guys. We'll see you guys here next week. Peace out.